What is up, Ravens Nation? My name is Corey, and I will be the host of Flock Files. This is a new YouTube channel that I am starting for any Ravens breaking news, the coaching carousel going on. I'll cover draft wants and needs, as well as give you a fan-based opinion. I've been a Ravens fan most of my life. I am a Chicago-based Ravens fan. Sports has been my life, most of my life, mainly football. Football is really the only sport where I have a diehard team, being the Ravens. All other sports, I just enjoy good games. I went to school locally for nursing, so I'm not tied to any big university for college football. But I do my due diligence, on my own as far as draft research and, conversating my opinions about the Ravens. And I just wanted to start a YouTube channel to hopefully reach a audience of Ravens fans and probably some that aren't Ravens fans, and just get in touch with you guys and have the comment section go off and be able to connect with the community and kind of bounce ideas off each other. This is new to me. I've never been a YouTube creator or content creator of any time, and it's just something that I wanted to give a try. I love conversating with people about football, especially other Ravens fans. I was at the Chicago Bears-Ravens game this past year. It was just so electric there. It's always electric there. Great people. I have the time of my life when I'm in Baltimore. And I just wanted to, create this page to chop it up with, other Ravens fans and give my opinions. There's plenty of influencers out there, not just the mainstream media, but other sources I watch on YouTube or podcasts I listen to, or I love hearing their insight and their opinion. And, I have opinions as well. So why not, post what I already do on a daily basis, research and talk to my friends and family and other people around me about Ravens football. I figured I might as well attempt to create a page where I can maybe reach out to Ravens Nation community, and we can, start a little family out there. And we can bounce ideas off each other, like I said, and, the highs, the lows. I would like to, obviously right now we have a lot of questions with who our next head coach is going to be, and there's a lot of opinions out there about, whether we should go defensive or offensive, so in coming videos I would like to touch base on, the coaching carousel, and then once the coaching carousel is finished, we still have to figure out, our offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, as well as obviously there's rumors going around right now that Lamar might or might not be traded. With John Harbaugh leaving, there's rumors that Tyler Linderbaum and other players are willing to or might follow him to New York. So unfortunately, there could be a lot of big changes coming to Baltimore, but I think with the right mindset, some of these things can be positive. I am happy that John Harbaugh is out of town. I've been calling for his job, honestly, since the Joe Flacco days. One thing you'll realize on this page is, there's a lot of Ravens fans have similar opinions. I have very strong opinions, and sometimes even with my own community, I butt heads and I don't agree. One of the biggest ones that we can talk about right now is the John Harbaugh. A lot of people give him his flowers and say that he's a great coach and, one of the greatest coaches, and I don't agree with that at all. Being in the league for 18 years, the defenses that he's had, and, now with Lamar and the offenses that he's had and the players that he's had over his 18 seasons, to have one Super Bowl appearance for that, I don't consider that great. I think he's a good head coach. I think he has good leadership. I don't consider him great, though. There's one Super Bowl appearance in 18 years with the talent that he's had. That's not great. And as we've seen with teams like, the Chicago Bears this year, the Jacksonville Jaguars this year, the New England Patriots this year, there's a lot of fans out there that say, oh, well, only so much can be on John Harbaugh. It's on the players as well making the plays, which, of course, yes. However, you look at these other teams that I just mentioned, and they went from winning a couple games to, all of them making the playoffs and making, Patriots might win it all again, which I hate seeing the Patriots good again already. They didn't take enough time off, but coaching matters. Coaching really does matter. And I don't think that John Harbaugh connects with players the way some of these other players do. You see Ben Johnson in the locker room, and I think the chant that he does is a little for kids. I don't really like that stuff at this level, but still, it's just the way he's connecting with his players, and F the Packers, and the way he is in his locker room. It brings the players together, gets everyone in the locker room hyped up. Whereas John Harbaugh is like a very quiet, like guided by the Lord and Jesus Christ. And I'm not a super religious person, but you know what? If that's who you are and that's who he is, and that's what you want to guide by, that's fine. But there comes a certain point in time when we're playing football. We're not out here playing soccer or golf. Not to hate on other sports, but sports that are a little bit more mellow. We're playing a sport where, like, you need to scream and yell with your players. You need to hold people accountable. You need to get pumped up and get the room pumped up. We've seen over time that Lamar Jackson isn't necessarily a super vocal leader. We're missing that Ray Lewis right now, and so you would think the coach would step up, but John Harbaugh just also isn't that kind of guy. And there's many reasons where, like I said, he's definitely not the worst coach. He's definitely a good coach, but to say like he's some great coach that we made a massive mistake, I think he should have been fired years ago. I'm so happy he's gone. It is scary because it's not guaranteed that we're going to hit on this next coach. Hopefully we do, but it's not always guaranteed that you're going to hit. I do agree with a lot of Ravens fans, that letting Mike McDonald walk out of our building a couple years ago it was one of the worst decisions, in hindsight. But, back then, as much as I was calling for John Harbaugh's job for many years, we were coming off number one seeded, hosting an AFC championship game. You can't fire John Harbaugh, or at least, the public and ownership. I understand why they didn't fire him then, because how are you going to be the number one seed hosting an AFC game and, turn to firing your head coach? And then that's when Mike McDonald got his, opportunity in Seattle. So I get some of it. I wanted this first video to just be more so of a little introductory video to myself, where I'm from. I'm a nurse by day, huge Ravens fan by all other times when I'm not at work. I protect Lamar Jackson like no other. I hate when people come for him, but then praise people like Josh Allen, who have accomplished exactly nothing in their career, and they praise him, but, bash on Lamar's name when they do the exact same thing. They fail in the biggest moments. Going forward, I'm going to try and post, at least 2 videos weekly from now on. Maybe Tuesdays and Thursdays, or Tuesdays and Fridays. I'm just going to be following the hot topics, going forward. My video on Thursday, I'll post, or Friday, I'll post talking about the coaching carousel, and I'll kind of give an in-depth view of who I think the top 5 candidates are and why, and, where I think the Ravens should be heading. Like I said, I have some opinions that a lot of Ravens fans don't have, and that's kind of why I gave the little bitty dive in to the, John Harbaugh and my opinion on him, because I know a lot of people don't agree with me, and that's fine. We're all allowed to have our opinions. I know some of, making content, whether you get 20 views or you get 300,000 views on your videos, I know there's going to be people in the comments trying to bash me, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're talking about, but we're all allowed to have our opinions, and I stand very strong on mine, and, I'm always down for a debate, even if it's against other Ravens fans. I'll keep it as professional and polite as I can, obviously, but a good debate doesn't hurt anybody. It gets your mind thinking and maybe seeing from a different perspective. But I do stand strong on a lot of opinions, and I'm here to share with everyone, and again, have conversation, and hopefully as this page blows up, I can connect with other Ravens influencers out there on YouTube and on social media. I know the Flock Rundown and Ryan and his page, that's a major page that I follow, and kind of inspired me to get my opinions out there. So to be able to get in contact with him eventually and maybe do some lives or some mock drafts or some coverage, going forward. I think that would be awesome. I'm just going to keep posting and see where this takes us. I hope you guys enjoyed these videos, the video editing and, my background and stuff. I'm set up in my basement right now, nothing fancy, but, we're in the middle of finishing it. So everything will get dialed in and, look a lot better as time goes on. But like I said, I just wanted to get this introductory video out there. My name's Corey again. I'm a nurse, but I'm a diehard Ravens fan. I live in Chicago. And yeah, I just want to connect with Ravens fans and Ravens influencers. And, we're on a wild road, a road that we haven't been on in quite some time. And this offseason is going to be pretty crazy. And I want to share my opinions and hear your guys' opinions in the comments all throughout the way, leading up into next season and, see where this can take us. I would love it if you guys subscribed and liked my videos. Yeah, and I will be making videos regularly, and always thank you for watching, those that do, from the beginning to when hopefully my videos get a couple hundred views and I reach out to some people. But always thank you and much love to Ravens flock.